Okay, if you are a sales leader or an executive listening right now, I want you to ask yourself just one question. When you close a deal, was that outcome predictable? Or was it, a really pleasant accident?
That is the pivotal question, isn't it?
It is. I mean, are your multi-million dollar results truly scalable, or are they dependent on the raw enthusiasm and just the sheer brilliance of a handful of rock stars?
And the risk there is that if your top rep leaves, it's not just a lost deal. It's the potential collapse of your entire quarterly forecasting model.
Exactly. And that's why we're diving into some really structured sources today from the sales experts. Their core message is pretty simple. Sales success isn't random, it's engineered.
Right.
We're unpacking this shift in mentality,
Hmm.
treating selling not as some art form driven by charisma, but as a systematic, structured process, almost like uh, engineering or operations.
And for any managers, directors, and especially the executives in our audience, this is your deep dive. We're essentially offering a blueprint on how a repeatable sales structure gets you out of reactive management
Fighting fires.
and into proactive governance. And that leads directly to scalable revenue, better forecasting, and, real organizational control.
Okay, so let's set the definition right away.
Yeah.
Because when we say sales process, we are not talking about a simple checklist.
No, not at all. Precisely. We're talking about an end-to-end systematic approach that's really a roadmap. It guides not just the salesperson, but the buyer as well through every single stage.
Sounds like an architectural spine.
It is. It links all your sales activity directly to corporate planning. And when you implement this, you shift from just managing people to managing throughput.
Let's unpack that operational analogy. Why the comparison to engineering? What are the real strategic advantages here for an executive?
Well, the first one, and it's often overlooked, is risk management. I mean, a high reliance on individual heroics is just inherently unstable.
Sure, it's fragile.
It is. A standardized process, though, it stabilizes the whole function. It provides systemic risk management, not just for the seller, but for the buyer, too. The buyer gets a consistent professional experience, which is, that's invaluable for brand integrity when you're scaling quickly.
Oh, that's massive for high-growth companies. We see organizations stall out not because they lack talent, but because their success is trapped inside the head of, the founder or the top 10% of the team.
Exactly.
If there's no documented process, how do you onboard 20 new reps next quarter?
You can't. Not effectively, anyway. If success is just unstructured, every new hire is trying to replicate some kind of mythological performance. But if it looks like engineering, if the steps are clear, the outputs are measurable, you can scale new talent so much faster.
So the process becomes the infrastructure.
Yes, it prevents growth from stalling every time you expand.
Okay, let's flip to the other side of that coin. Forecasting. If the process is the engine, then accurate forecasting is the reliable dashboard that informs all your big investment decisions.
Right. And the sources from the sales experts, they highlight this really powerful formula. It's sales process plus rigorous planning equals control, growth, and predictability.
Without a repeatable process, planning is just guesswork. Right. It's guesswork layered on top of optimism. But when every stage is defined, when you measure adherence, you track conversion rates, your forecasting shifts from being a hope to being a genuine data-driven science.
And this leads right to the idea of pipeline velocity. For executives, velocity is everything. It's not just how many deals are in the pipe.
No, it's how fast they move.
It's how quickly they move from being a prospect to a signed customer.
And that's where the power of the process becomes so measurable. If you define your stages correctly, you can track the conversion rate between, say, stage 4 and stage 5. If the system is working, those rates stabilize.
Which means leadership can calculate exactly how much marketing spend they need to get a predictable amount of revenue.
In a predictable timeline.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how do we define organizational control with a specific metric? Because that term can sound a little nebulous when you're managing a P&L every quarter.
Totally. Control means knowing that if you invest X dollars in lead gen, the system's predictable conversion rates will yield Y revenue in Z timeline. It lets you make huge capital decisions without just relying on anecdotal evidence from your top performer. It literally lowers your cost of capital.
Okay, but I see a challenge here, a common one. How do you enforce this structure without, crushing the spirit of your high-performing veteran reps? People confuse CRM compliance, just checking boxes, with true process adherence.
That's a critical distinction. The process isn't bureaucracy, it's a framework for high performance. For that veteran rep, the process is a quality control mechanism. It makes sure they don't skip a crucial step, like needs assessment, that could derail a huge deal late in the cycle.
So it's a safety net, not a cage.
It is. And the sources emphasize that implementation has to come from the top down. You have to demonstrate that structure accelerates results, it doesn't hinder them.
So instead of being a micromanager, the system allows the sales manager to become more of a specialized coach.
Exactly right. If a deal stalls, the manager doesn't have to guess why. If the system shows that 80% of stalled deals happen between stage 4 and 5 needs assessment and presentation, that tells you exactly where the coaching breakdown is.
Are reps rushing discovery? Are they not qualifying correctly?
All of the above. The process shines a light on the weak points. It allows for surgical coaching instead of, just generic motivational speeches.
Okay, let's talk about the roadmap itself. The sources detail a typical 8-step process. Now, we know for our audience, just listing steps is too basic. Let's focus on why skipping certain steps almost always leads to a loss of control.
We have to view these 8 steps as critical trust building and data collection checkpoints. Skipping any of them, you sacrifice crucial data for forecasting and you destroy the professional rhythm the buyer expects.
Okay, so stage 1 is prospecting. Stage 2, pre-approach or planning, researching, comparing. This one I suspect is the most commonly skipped.
Oh, it is. And skipping pre-approach means the approach, that stage 3, is generic. A good stage 2 ensures you tailor your opening, you build credibility right away. If you come in cold, you've lost the chance to accelerate trust.
And that leads to the really critical stage 4, needs assessment. This is where it all goes sideways if refs jump straight to the pitch, right?
Stage 4 is the entire foundation. If you skip this, your presentation stage 5 is just a generic monologue. A structured needs assessment isn't just about collecting info, it's about aligning the buyer's problem with your solution. Failure here means you never even found the real pain point.
Which makes stage 6, handling objections, nearly impossible.
Exactly, because you're arguing against a symptom, not the actual cause.
That's a perfect connection. Objections shouldn't be surprises. If stage 4 was thorough, you should have anticipated the objections in stage 6. And that just accelerates the deal towards stage 7, commitment or closing.
And the final piece, stage 8, follow-up, is essential. This isn't just a thank you note, it's securing referrals, ensuring customer success, and, crucially, gathering data that feeds right back into stage 2 for the next account. It closes the loop.
So the real insight here is that the process isn't designed to slow reps down. It's designed to ensure the work they do is consistently impactful, professional, and trackable. It standardizes competence.
And that leads to a higher conversion probability at every single stage. When a manager measures the conversion rate from, say, presentation to handling objections, they get a critical metric for pipeline health.
Right. If that conversion rate drops, the system gives you an immediate red flag, long before the quarterly forecast is in jeopardy.
You're getting ahead of the problem.
So what are the key things an executive needs to measure to make sure their team is adhering to the spirit of the process, not just ticking boxes?
Beyond conversion rates, I'd say focus on time and stage metrics. If a deal is sitting in needs assessment for twice the average time, that signals a problem. That's operational data. Also, measure the quality of deliverables. For example, you could mandate a standardized discovery document before a deal can even move to the presentation stage.
That level of governance is what separates an amateur pipeline from an engineered, predictable one. It's checks and balances.
Exactly. And let's not forget the change management part of this. Implementing this often gets resistance from middle management who are afraid of being seen as micromanagers.
Sure.
The executive challenge is to communicate that you're not dictating conversations. You're dictating the strategic steps needed to earn a predictable outcome for the company. You're managing the system, not the dialogue.
And here's where it gets really interesting for our audience.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just creating internal consistency. You are actively shaping the customer journey into a predictable, trustworthy experience. That elevates sales from a cost center to a scalable asset.
It solidifies the idea that your sales function is the mechanism by which your company delivers predictable value. It makes sales a systemic, controllable asset.
So what does this all mean for you, the sales leader or executive listening today? We've covered risk, scalable hiring, forecasting science, and operational governance.
I think the ultimate takeaway from the sales experts' sources is this. Aligning your sales process with your sales and planning creates a systemic advantage. You are systematically driving better forecasting, stronger pipelines, and establishing scalable success. You're replacing reliance on heroics with a repeatable engine.
And the actionable advice here is immediate. Sales success is not random. It has to be engineered. Start by mapping your process today. Define those 8 stages for your specific business. Focus on the measurable output of each one, and you will take genuine control of your results tomorrow.
Which leaves you with the final and maybe most important question to think about. Look at your current sales results. Are you managing a standardized, measurable system, or are you just managing people?
Because if you can define the system, you can staff and scale the result.
And for those of you who realize you need to go deeper on building out that infrastructure, whether it's recruitment, training, or the coaching frameworks to implement this, we really encourage you to explore the resources available from the sales experts.
They provide strategies for recruiting, training, retaining top performers, all the deep dives into the managerial and strategic side of this. Just head over to thesalesexperts.com to check out those resources and take the next step.
Until next time, remember that the best way to accelerate your pipeline is to give it a measurable roadmap.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.